Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, May 21. I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. A special welcome to those of you watching online at onespotmedia.com. There was trauma counseling for students at Titchfield High School this morning following a tragic crash which left one student dead and 23 others injured in Portland on Monday. Students, staff and parents are grieving the loss of Pranjal Kumar, a grade 8 student who died in the crash. It's reported that Kumar was on his way home to give his parents some good news when his life was cut short.
Very brilliant child, very promising. In fact, only yesterday, the very day he died, he was interviewed by the quiz coaches to be a part of our quiz team.
The loss came as a shock to many, as only a few weeks ago, Pranjal was allowed to start taking public transportation. Principal of Titchfield High School, Richard Thompson, says the bus was licensed to carry 15 people, but was carrying 24 students.
We are still uncertain as to the extent of the injuries. There's a lot of anxiety. People are still in shock. People are angry at the transportation system. The questions the students are asking, why is it a bus that is supposed to carry 12 or 15 students or people was allowed to take that many?
In the meantime, the Titchfield Past Students Association is expressing new concerns related to yesterday's tragic crash. The association has released a statement questioning whether the bus involved was an approved unit assigned to the school. The past students are calling for an investigation into the status of the bus. They also want the authorities to ensure the safety of students as they travel to and from school. The Past Students Association expressed condolences to the family of the deceased youngster and offered prayers for the speedy recovery of the injured. Meanwhile, the driver of the Toyota Hiace bus, which crashed yesterday afternoon, has since been warned for prosecution. It's understood that he was under police surveillance after being cited for several previous traffic offenses. The bus, which was transporting students from the Port Antonio and Titchfield High Schools, overturned into a gully in the community of Black Hill about 3 o'clock. It was reported that the driver was overtaking a vehicle when the brakes failed and he lost control of the bus, which hit an embankment and overturned into the gully. Head of the Portland Police, Superintendent Dwayne Wellington, says he knew the bus operator because of his poor driving habits. He outlined a recent traffic violation.
He was ticketed in my presence 2 weeks ago, approximately 2 weeks ago, for excess passenger, what we commonly known as lapping up of students. 32 passengers, well, 31, and he made 32 were in that bus on that occasion. 27 students, 3 males, his conductor, and he made 32. So he has been under the radar, police radar, and the investigation will lead to possible charges in the near future.
The relatives of Kevron Burrell, who was killed in the controversial Old Harbor Road St. Catherine police chase and shooting, is still waiting for justice. In addition to trying to get justice for Kevron's death, his brother, 22-year-old Javier Burrell, was also injured. He has a fractured skull and still has bullet fragments in his head. The family is now struggling with a hefty medical bill associated with his treatment.
It is costing us a lot. It is costing a lot. And no one say anything.
They say Javier was discharged from the Spanish Town Hospital days after the incident with the bullet fragments still in his head. They had to take him to a private doctor to have a CT scan done and to continue his treatment. Antibiotics and pain medications have been running into tens of thousands of dollars each week. They want the government to intervene both in helping with the escalating medical bill and in getting justice for Kevron's death.
I'm calling on Mr. Andrew Holness, I'm calling on Mr. Horace Chang, and I'm calling on the Commissioner of Police to meet the family and let us have justice in this situation, because we're not going to stop at nothing until we get the justice we deserve.
Following another fire at the retirement dump in St. James on the weekend, the business community is again raising concerns about the frequency of fires at the retirement dump in that parish. The Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, in a release, has called for the permanent fix to the dump. The chamber said at least one of its members had to close due to smoke nuisance in the city center yesterday. The chamber is questioning whether the authorities are concerned or even capable of finding a solution to this recurring problem. A massive fire at the location in July 2018 led to business operators and residents in adjacent communities being affected by smoke for days. After that fire, the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, announced plans to relocate the dump as well as the installation of cameras and fire suppression systems to prevent a recurrence. Meanwhile, the Jamaica Environment Trust, JET, is expressing alarm that members of the public are again being exposed to toxic fumes from a fire at a disposal site. JET says despite promises by successive governments to prevent a recurrence of such incidents, it keeps happening. The concern was triggered by last week's fire at the retirement dump in St. James. Although the fire has been extinguished, Western Parks and Markets Waste Management says it will take another day before normality returns to the disposal site. Smoke is still emanating from the area. Chief Executive Officer of JET, Susan Stanley, says this latest incident should be a wake-up call.
You know, after decades of the citizens of Jamaica being exposed to this toxic air pollution coming from our dump sites, the question JET is really asking, and we have been asking over the past years, is what is it going to take for action to happen on this? We've had promises after promises from the government of Jamaica that something is going to be done, that the solid waste management system is going to be divested, and that that we're going to be moving away from this kind of situation, but yet nothing happens, and until that action takes place, the citizens of Jamaica will continue to suffer.
Welcome back. Continuing the news. Electricity theft continues to be a major issue for the Jamaica Public Service, JPS, and by extension, the government. According to Energy Minister Favour Williams, approximately 17% of generated electricity is stolen. She says this translates into a loss to the government of $140 million. The Energy Minister says based on investigations done by her ministry, a number of issues have been identified which contributes to the problem.
One, if you look in a lot of inner cities, their homes are not properly wired, and so they cannot connect to JPS even if they want to pay for electricity. So let's figure out how we help those people who honestly, genuinely want to pay but can't get on because of the high cost of getting their homes wired.
In that regard, she says there will be a reform to how electricity is provided to customers generally. Additionally, the new process will include the training of more electricians to conduct inspections.
All the certified electricians that we have in Jamaica now, is probably about 800 of them, they should have the opportunity to become certified inspectors.
Right.
So you have in a home that you want wired, you contract with the electrician now, but in the new regime you'll be able to contract with an inspector to come in and inspect it.
She says the new process will also include an annual audit which should reduce corruption.
If you're an electrician and an inspector, you can't inspect your own jobs.
Right.
We'll have a database to keep track of all the jobs that are done, so we know who did what, and then we do spot audits. We go and look back, and if there's a problem, you're going to lose your license.
Mrs. Williams was speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica program on Monday. Ravel Morrison and Daniel Johnson have been named in Jamaica's 40-player provisional squad for the 2019 CONCACAF Gold Cup. Simon Preston has the details.
I don't know what form Ravel Morrison will be in, and don't know if he's really playing any football. A lot of persons says he's in Sweden. I hope not enjoying the Alps. I think that when you look at the team and the number of players and the experience that is within the squad, I think they can go very far. In fact, the expectation is going to be that they will have to either go to the finals or win it.
Meredith also speaks about players he feels should have made the 40-man cut.
I think that 4 names that I thought should have been there would have been Thomas from Waterhouse, Simpson also from Waterhouse, and I was looking forward to maybe Hamilton getting a call from Cavaliers and also Messi Marsh, but when I look at the overall squad, I just say it still shows me I still share some optimism of we doing really well at the School Cup.
CONCACAF has stressed that the 23 players must be selected from the 40 that the 16 nations have provided. 14 members from the team in 2017, which helped Jamaica to the final against the United States, including Captain Andre Blake, Romario Williams, Kemar Lawrence, are also in the 40-man squad. Other notable invitees this time around include the English-based duo of Adrian Mariappa and Michael Hector, as well as Shamar Nicholson, who recently signed a 3-year deal in the Slovenian Premier League. Jamaica's first game of the Gold Cup is on June 17 against Honduras at the National Stadium. Simon Preston reporting for TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Remember, primetime news is at 7. On behalf of the News Sports and Production teams, good afternoon.